and welcome back to the Python 150 series, where we are solving challenges from this book by Nichola Lacey, Python by Example, and we are on challenge 3 today. We are currently in, because we're only 3 challenges in, they're all divided into sections, and we're in the basics, which is why I've got this folder called the basics, because all the challenges there fit under that category. We've done the first 2 and we're moving on to this one today, and as always we'll be solving this challenge in 3 different ways: beginner, medium and advanced. So what's our challenge for today? This is our challenge: write code that will display the joke, "What do you call a bear with no teeth?" and on the next line display the answer, "A gummy bear." Try to create it using only 1 line of code. So that's our challenge. Let's get straight into it. Just so we can see, if I run the module at the moment, I get the beginner code, the medium code and the advanced code, but because we pass on each function, nothing happens, but once we start putting some code in, it will. So let's do this. We're going to do this on 1 line. We're going to print, just going to steal this string right here, and then I'm going to take a gummy bear and I am going to print a gummy bear. Bomb. So if I run this again, you can see, what do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. However, we need to create it using only 1 line of code. So rather than having 2 print statements, we're going to have 1 print statement. In order to get this onto a new line, what we're going to do is we are going to just put a line break, \n, it says put it on a new line, and then we'll put in the answer there, and we should get exactly the same result. So let's run it again. There we go. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. You can see that was the previous run here. Now I've got this run here. Job done. That is the beginner solution done. Okay, but this isn't very structured. Okay, it doesn't scale, it doesn't expand, it's very basic. So we're going to move on to medium, and we're going to define a data class. So this is just a instance of some data, and we are going to call it a joke. What a joke. And we're going to have a setup. Every joke has a setup, which is, what do you call a bear with no teeth? Which is going to be a string. And every joke has a punchline, which is a gummy bear, which will also be a string. Okay? So now we can say joke equals joke, and I have not imported data class, it's complaining at me, so let's import that. I'm going to pop this import just above the thing here so we can keep that on the screen. Now a joke, we need to give it the setup and we need to give it the punchline, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to say setup, setup equals what do you call a bear with no teeth. I'm just going to pop this on a new line just so it looks a bit nicer. And we've got our punchline, which is equal to a gummy bear. Lovely. So we've got ourselves a joke, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add a method here which gets the joke to tell itself. Okay, so we are going to say we're going to define a method called tell. Joke.tell kind of makes sense, right? And we're just going to include self because it's going to be the joke itself needs to know about what setup and punchline are. And we are going to print self.setup. And then I reckon we could probably do like some input, and then we could print self.punchline. Okay, so that we get like the joke like happen, like the user still has like, oh, what do you call that, and they can like interact with the joke. So that's why I'm going to put that input line there. So now joke equals joke. It's complaining now. Why are you complaining? Bracket was not closed. Definitely did close. Oh, I didn't put a comma here between the 2 arguments. Setup and punchline. Lovely. And then we're going to say joke.tell. Okay, so let's give this a run. So you can see for beginner, fine, medium, it's printed out the setup, what do you call a bear with no teeth, and now it's waiting. So now I'm going to press enter. A gummy bear! There we go. So that is our joke told. Now it does say, try to create it using only one line of code. Now if we ignore the fact that we've got this joke data class here, I don't know whether I could, yeah, I can do tell right off the back here. Right, so technically I'm going to remove all my nice formatting. I'm going to pop this all back like this. Joke equals joke. So we create a new joke, and then once we've created it, we call tell on the joke, and the joke tells itself. So technically, in Medium, we have one line of code here. Technically, we've hit the brief, and here we go. Let's just test it again. It still works. Lovely stuff. Okay, now we're going to move on to advanced. Now, it's not very good having this joke like hard coded in here. So what I want to do is actually create a jokes file. So I'm going to add in a file here. I'm going to call it jokes. Let's start with CSV, comma separated values, and we're going to have setup, comma punchline. Ooh. And we're going to, I'll just take it from here. So we're going to have, what do you call a bear with no teeth? No speech marks here needed, comma, and then a gummy bear. So we've got our setup followed by our punchline. Okay, lovely. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a joke factory. So this is going to be a class, and it's going to be called joke factory. And we are going to define a method called get jokes from CSV. And we're going to add self to that. And we now need to read the CSV file. So we're going to say with open. We need to know the name of the file. So actually we need to pass that in here. Let's do file. We're in advanced. Let's do it properly. So let's do file path, and that is actually going to be the type path. So I'm going to add that from pathlib. Add a path. So a path is just a way of encapsulating a location of a file. So we're going to say with open file path in read mode. And then we need to use something from the CSV library called a dict reader. So I'm going to say from CSV import dict reader. And then I'm going to say, so with open as F for file, we're going to say dict reader equals dict reader. And we're going to pass in F. And we are then going to say something like data equals reader dot something. What is it? Or maybe that's it. Maybe that's my data. We'll have a look in a second. So let's print reader. And then down here, we're just going to check this is working. So we're going to say joke factory equals joke factory. And then we're going to say joke factory dot get jokes from CSV. We need a file path. So if I right click on, actually, let's do it relative. So we're calling it from here. So it's going to be challenges, the basics, jokes.csv. In fact, I might be able to right click, copy relative path. I'm going to say CSV file equals path, and I'm going to pass in that relative. Oh, didn't put it as a string. Let's do that. And I'm just going to convert these to forward slashes because backslash is like a special character and that makes things confusing. Okay, so that should be happy, and then we need to pass that in here. So file path equals CSV file. Okay, and this should print something out for us just to see what is happening. What I'm also going to do in my joke class, I'm just going to comment out input so that I don't have to do anything when I test this, and I'll put that back later. Okay, so we've got our dict_reader_object there. So we need to do something with the reader. Reader dot print. Can we get like a list of the reader? Yes, we can. Fantastic. There we go. So we've converted this into a list, and each thing in the list has a object which has a setup and a punchline. Fantastic. So now what we want to do is we want to, the idea of this is that we want to load this into a list of joke. Okay, so we're going to say data equals list of, we're going to convert the reader into a list. And then we're going to say for dictionary in data. So this here is a dictionary between the curly brackets. We've got a key, a setup, and we've got a key punchline, and then the value for the setup key is this, and then the value for punchline is this. So we can go through each dictionary in our list, and then we can go through, we can add our joke. So we can say, let's have a list of jokes. So let's say jokes equals that, and I'm going to say joke equals a new joke, where the setup is the dictionary with the key setup, and what was it called? Punchline is the dictionary with the key punchline, and you can see we've got that key there, and we've got that key there, so we know they're gonna be there. And let's just add another one. Just so that you can see this working a bit better. So why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Okay, so we've got a second joke in there. For dictionary in data, we're creating a new joke, and I'm going to say jokes.append that new joke that we've made. And then we're going to return our jokes. Okay, so this will create our jokes, and just to check that we are getting this, so I'm going to say jokes equals jokefactory.getJokes. I'm just going to print jokes right at the end here, just as a little thing here. So you can see here we've got a joke. What do you call a bear with no teeth? Punchline, a gummy bear. And we've got another joke here. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Boom, we've got CSV working. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to add a method called getJokes from JSON. And that's not the name of a person, that is JavaScript object notation, JSON. We're going to use, in fact, we're going to use this whole signature, so I'm just going to copy that. And we're going to do a very similar thing as this, but we're going to do, it's going to be slightly easier with JSON. In fact, this can probably be a private method. So let's say def jokes from dictionary self. And we're going to pop this in here. We're going to say data is a dict that is a string, and then any. No, it's always going to be a string to a string because they're just simple jokes. And then we're going to go through that. We're going to grab that. We're going to grab that. We're going to return the jokes. Lovely. So that is going to return a list of joke. So then here, I can say return self dot jokes from dict, and we can pass in that data. Data equals data. I'm going to call this it's not CSV data anymore, it's like converted data, and that just makes a distinction between those two things. Now we've got our jokes from dict function here, which we can use again down here. So we're going to load our data, so we're going to use the same variable name, converted data. It's a different function, so it doesn't matter too much. And we're going to say json.load, we're going to pass it in our file, and then we're going to return self.jokes from dict, and we're going to pass our data is going to be that converted data. So if I just clear my terminal, and what have I got? I'm getting the jokes here, so I'm just going to print jokes, and we should see that we actually are loading them in from the JSON now, which is awesome. But we need a way of telling them. We can't just print them out like this. We're now loading multiple jokes. So if you're telling multiple jokes, what are you? You are a comedian. So we're going to make a comedian, and we are going to define a function called tell joke, and we're just going to pop past there, and we're going to define a function called tell joke with an S, tell jokes, and that is going to take a series of jokes, which is going to be a list of joke, and tell joke is going to just take a single joke. None of them are going to return anything. So how do we tell a joke? Well, we've already got a tell here, and I'm going to get rid of this comment here so that this puts a pause in. It actually makes the user press enter, right? But when a comedian's telling you a joke, they, like, to a big audience, they don't really wait for everyone to go, I don't know what. So it kind of doesn't make sense to do it this way. So when our comedian tells a joke, what we're going to do is we're going to print joke.setup, but then they're going to wait. So we're going to say sleep for 1 second, and we're going to, from time, we're going to import sleep, and then we're going to print joke.punchline. So that's how we tell a joke. We're going to whip through all the jokes. So we're going to say for I in range, length of jokes. We are going to say self.tellJoke, and we are going to pass in jokes at position I. And what we're going to do then is we're going to do a quick check. We're going to say if I is less than len of jokes minus 1. So if it's the second, if the joke is before the second to last joke, we want to say answer equals input yes or no. Sorry, my brain's working one step ahead. We need to print would you like to hear another joke? And if the answer, we're going to convert this to lower. If the answer does not equal yes, then we're going to break and we're going to stop telling jokes. Obviously, once we've told the last joke, we don't want to then say, do you want to hear another joke? Because they won't be able to hear another joke, so there's not another joke. So that's why we need to do this check here. Okay, so our comedian knows how to tell jokes now. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a joke. Our joke teller, our comedian is going to be Samantha Giggles, and she is our comedian for the day. And Samantha is going to tell jokes. Should we give the comedian a name? Let's give the comedian a name. Samantha Giggles. This is so unnecessary. Okay, comedian. We're gonna very quickly. We're gonna define a. When we create this, we're gonna say self.name equals name. and then here we're going to ask for a name which is a string. And then when we tell jokes, right at the start we're going to print ladies and gentlemen. And then we're going to say, please welcome to the stage the wonderful, and then we're going to print one last thing. We're going to do a format string, and we're going to go hash 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 hash, and in the middle we're going to say self.name. Okay, so we get a little intro there, and then we're going to pop some things there. Okay, so we've made our comedian, Samantha Giggles. In fact, I don't need to call this variable Samantha Giggles anymore. I can call this comedian, because the name of the comedian is better put there. Makes more sense. Comedian tell jokes. Let's see if it works. So the beginner just prints it out. The medium expects us to press enter. Okay, why? Why? Oh, I haven't saved it. I haven't saved the file. Rookie error. Medium expects us to press enter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the wonderful Samantha Giggles. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Would you like to hear another joke? Yes, and I missed the delay there, but let's have a look at the delay. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Boom. Challenge done. That is the advanced challenge. We're loading jokes in from files. If we wanted to make this a little, a fewer lines, we could do this. So we could say joke factory dot get jokes from JSON, and then we could do comedian dot tell jokes. I wouldn't want to do this because it's quite sloppy, but in terms of the challenge, trying to tell us to do as few lines as possible. Also, we're not using the CSV, we're loading from JSON. In fact, let's get rid of JSON because we know that works. And we're going to get jokes from CSV instead. In fact, I don't really like, okay, a little extension. We are going to add a method to the joke factory called get jokes from file. Def get jokes from file, and we're going to be self and file path, and that is going to be a path, and we are going to that's also going to return a list of jokes, and we're basically just going to decide what kind of, we're just going to make it easier so you don't have to keep swapping between, oh, do I need CSV, do I need JSON? So how can we do this? Well, let's just do a little test, and let's print out file path dot, and then I believe there is some little thing, if we pop down the different properties here, suffix, that's what we want. Okay, file path dot suffix. So get jokes from file, we are going to call that instead, get jokes from file, and then I'm actually just going to comment out this last line. Okay, so you can see there it's printed out .csv, and that's because we've passed it jokes.csv. So that's our suffix. Fantastic. So now up in get jokes from file, we can say if, we can say first of all suffix equals, and then we can say if, no, not suffix, file type equals file path.suffix, if file type is equal to, and then how did it print out? .csv. .csv, then we are going to return self.getJokes from CSV, and we're going to pass in the file path that has been passed in. Oh, not file type, file path. Elif file type is equal to .json. We are going to return self.getJokes from JSON, where our file path is our file path. Otherwise, we've got a bad file type, so we're going to raise an error. So we're going to say raise, and then let's have a look at the different errors that we've got available to us. Some kind of bad file error, I think. maybe it should be a value error. Let's just do value error. Raise value error, unsupported file type, and then we're going to print the file type in the error message. So I'm going to pop that there. So file type, unsupported file type from file path, and let's pop in the file path as well. And we'll do .as POSIX just to display it in a controlled way. Cool. So now we should be able to run this, and we get nothing because we're not using our comedian to print out our jokes. So let's try that again. Although it didn't fail, so that's good. Here we go. Our comedian is printing out jokes. Yeah, want to hear another joke? Okay, so it loaded both jokes, which is great. Now I should be able to just change this to JSON, and this should just work. It should just pick it up from the new JSON file. And in fact, let's just change this to seagull. What do you call a seagull with no teeth? Wait, seagulls don't have teeth. What has teeth? A horse? What do you call a horse with no teeth? A gummy horse. It doesn't really make sense, but you'll know it's changed. So this is the JSON file I've edited. So now if we run this, what do you call a horse with no teeth? A gummy horse. So you can see that's in the JSON file. In the CSV file, it's still a bear, so we can see the differences between them. I'll leave that in. If I press no, I haven't tested that. No, okay, just ends. Okay, fantastic. Lastly, what if we have a new file called jokes.txt, and we have a joke in here, and we try and load that in, we try and pass in jokes.txt, we should see our error coming up. So let's have a look at that. Okay, here we go. Fantastic. So we have an error that's been raised. It's a value error, which is what we told it to be. Up here, we've told it to raise a value error, and it says unsupported file type .txt from file path challenges the basics jokes.txt. So you've got a really nice, clear error message there. In fact, what would be better is let's pop in a new line. In fact, let's the formatting on this is not going to be nice, so let's do that, and I'm just going to add another string on a new line, and we're going to say please supply either a CSV file or a JSON file. There we go. So it's clear what you've got to do to fix this issue. And there we have it. That is our advanced... We've got it down to 3 lines. This can actually just be called file now, or file path, I guess. And let's update that here. So our file path, we define it here. We get our joke factory. We load in our jokes from a external file, and then we use a comedian to tell our jokes, and our comedian gets announced as well, which is a little bit extra. It's outside of the thing, but I think it makes it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun. So that was challenge 3. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in challenge 4.